Welcome back to Dis to Digital, where we talk about the evolution of gaming and media and take a look at some of the classics that shape today's modern titles. As always, I'm your host, Brett Clark, and joined with me is the lovely Mr. Matt Keaton. Matt, how you doing today?
Doing good, man. Doing great today. Feeling
so
alive.
Matt, this week's topic, we decided to do a little something different. We played Contra for the first time. And pretty much for the audience at home, like, neither of us have played Contra, right? You never played Contra before this time?
Never played it until only just played it recently.
Yeah, and the way we played it was we played it via RetroArch and Parsec to NetPlay. So that experience overall I thought was pretty smooth. But going into it, I didn't realize that Contra really had a story per se.
Yeah.
Did you know about it?
No, nothing at all.
Yeah, Contra, like the actual story of Contra, is kind of cool because like it's just kind of like, you know, like Cold War, like stereotypical shooter arcade game.
Mm-hmm.
But Contra actually, like, it's almost like this is like where you can get into like some government conspiracy stuff, because back in the Reagan administration, there was, do you remember the whole the Contra incident during the Reagan administration?
Briefly.
So here's how it kind of went down. So Congress passed a law that said the U.S. could no longer help this group known as the Contras, who were fighting this group in Nicaragua called the Sandinistas. And the Sandinistas were super far left for people to really like in that time period. And when I say super far left, I mean like communism. And, you know, people didn't like communism during the Cold War, obviously. And this took place during the Cold War, when the U.S. would do things that were really kind of messed up, and people are like, "What are you doing this for?" You know, it's the Cold War. You know, people did really weird things back then, because you got to remember the Cold War was like 40 years of the U.S. doing stuff to fight communism. But anyway, so someone in intelligence wanted to keep on giving money to the Contras, despite the fact that Congress said it was illegal to do so. And they came up with this really smart, quote unquote, idea to sell them to Iran, which is also illegal because Iran took the embassy hostage and held its employees hostage at the embassy for 444 days back in 1979 and to 1980, you know. And they were released the same day that Reagan became the president. As he was being like inaugurated, it was like you could watch the hostages being released in the Reagan inauguration. So the intelligence people came up with this plan to sell weapons to Israel, and then they would in turn sell it to Iran. And this is a point apparently when Israel and Iran did not hate each other. I don't know. It just happened to be how it was. And so that illegal process would then have funding that then they could support Contras with, you know, and that is how they're able to back the Contras in Nicaragua. And then just weapons sort of went missing, you know, and money was being laundered through Iran, who was busy fighting a war in which we were supporting Iraq with their swell leader, Saddam Hussein, you know, who we then eventually, you know, went in and took over. But when you think about it, it's like we had our fingers in everyone's pie, you know, like it's crazy. But just that alone, that term Contra, the people at the mainland at home here didn't like the concept of Contras being supported because these were just mercenaries who like pillaged and raped people. They were very, very brutal, almost terrorists in a way, in some people's eyes, that the way they fought for their freedom. But they were fighting against communism, you know? And so eventually, like, people, like, looked into it more, and they released a bunch of stuff, and then eventually this lieutenant colonel took the fall for it, and then to this very day, like, he's been, like, dismissed from those charges, and it's whatever. It's just a whole fiasco, and it's kind of covered up by the name being called Contra. And then, yeah, when you search up the word Contra, just the game comes up. It
Yeah.
like wiped it off the face of the internet. Uh, and it's really weird because it's like I I briefly knew about it, like
Mm.
very very slightly knew about it, but I didn't really think about the fact that this game has like hidden that whole like government cover. It's almost like a government cover up, but
Yeah.
with a video game.
Yeah.
Super efficient way to do it. Just kind of a fun fact, to break it off. But
Oh, it's
as far as the
interesting.
actual story, what were your takes on the actual story?
Didn't really get into much of it. Honestly, just playing it, I really enjoyed the story. It was kind of like you just drop in this area and you have to just kind of like fight and survive and push through. And then obviously this alien invasion you're battling against, and then these like super soldier kind of guys that you're going up against.
Mm-hmm.
So my take was more, I was more focused on gameplay when we played. Like I was just so
Mm-hmm.
intense and it was just like trying to continue to push through this game. And I really liked the alien effects, the like
Mm-hmm.
takeover kind of thing, and the alien layer towards the end of the game. That was a blast.
Yeah.
um Story wise, I really couldn't pick up too much of it. I guess there wasn't like really traditional cutscenes like there are in modern day games, so
Yeah.
there was no like way to actually visually see what's representing the story. It's more of just you're going from point A to point B, and there's a little bit of story that you're seeing developing, kind of like a story as you go. You know, your experience is the story. So,
Yeah. And one of the things was that, like you said, there's not traditional cutscenes that we're used to. I think in an arcade game, you're right. You're not really focused on the story all that much. And when they ported it over to the NES, like they tried to stay as true to the game as they could, like as far as like a 1-to-1 port. But the whole game, you're supposed to be fighting like the bad guys. Like it's like I think they're called like the Red Falc, like the Red Faction or whatever it is. Like communism. Uh, that they should just name the game not Contra and named it like communism or something like that, because that's pretty much what you're doing the whole time. Because aliens are a hive mind, communism, like like see where all this comes in. Uh, deep state stuff right there.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a political affiliation, except instead of showing it to you, it's taking its own spin.
yeah,
So
at first thought maybe Contra was like directly tied to the Alien series when we saw those face huggers,
hmm
or maybe like Contra inspired them.
hmm
But I really didn't. I really didn't want to go into that much research when I was already looking into the Reagan administration Contra thing.
hmm
By the way, like the fall guy for that Contra thing, was like the president of the NRA and all that. He has a podcast and he's like people love him because they're like, oh, he fought communism, but it's
hmm
like that one guy was like a lance corporal, so obviously it wasn't him. You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
no lance corporal is doing that by himself.
right.
But lieutenant colonel. Sorry, not to offend Mr. Norris or whatever his name is. Uh, but at the end of the day, you're right. I mean, like they represent the aliens as like a different part of the game from like you fighting the traditional soldiers, and I kind of like that because it's like by doing that you add some like Metroid like elements to it.
Mm.
So you've got a game kind of like just a basic like military shooter, and then you throw in some aliens, and it's like it touches all genres.
hmm
No RPG elements, but for an arcade game, I think if you have an arcade game that's you're shooting stuff, military stuff, there's aliens, big guns,
hmm
like I think that's an easy sell for anybody at the arcade who's got quarters.
Yeah, and you're talking about taking the face huggers from the Alien franchise. Alien franchise was shot way before, so
Okay.
this they directly just snatched that and said, you know what, let's
Okay.
take some modern lore and let's just whoop pop it in the game. I'll be
Yeah.
honest, when I saw that in the game, I was like, whoa, that's really cool. That was a really cool part of the story when you saw those and you're trying to dodge them and then take them out, and
Mhm.
it's like, it's in that platform 2D where you really can't judge and gauge. You just got to go with the flow, and that really put me on my feet there.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm not huge into like I'm not huge in the Alien franchise where it's like I know what years it comes out and stuff like that. So that's
Yeah.
where it's like I see that, but I'm like I know that's from Aliens,
hmm
But it's so far the game's so old. It's like I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg at
Yeah,
that point.
the game was 1987, and
Okay.
the original Alien was much going way farther back than that.
Do you know how long ago that was?
Oof. Just doing like a brief check here.
Yeah.
Um, I can't
Oh
off the
yeah, you're
top of my
right.
head.
It was
1979.
yeah, I was gonna say May 25th,
Yeah.
1979. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. That was that was quite a few years before that. So yeah, obviously
Hmm.
they had time to pull inspiration from that movie or completely rip the like intellectual property of it,
Well,
I
I mean,
guess.
I had to. If you see in the background here, I had to represent my franchise here. My wife
Yep.
got me hooked on Alien.
Yeah,
We've
Kylie,
binged
same
them.
thing. I never saw Alien uh, until me and Kylie started dating,
Mm.
and we're watching it, and there's a guy Brett in the movie.
Hmm.
Now Brett's like a chain smoker in the movie. Well, I'm not a chain smoker, and I was hoping he'd live, but
Yeah.
it's Alien. I kind of knew that it was inevitable I'd die, but sidetracked from Contra. I mean, really, if you think about it, could we not put Contra in the Alien timeline? Like, maybe, maybe. I don't know. It's not confirmed. If someone out there has like concrete information about Contra being canon part of the Alien franchise or Alien story, let us know. Leave us a comment on our social media or just tweet it out to us and we'll take a look at that. Don't send me some like YouTube video that some guy speculated on. I need like concrete evidence. For that Contra thing, I had to hit my dad up. My dad's a like a world history teacher, and I had to be like, "Okay, Dad, how concrete is this evidence?" And he just sent me back like paragraphs upon paragraphs.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know,
So
playing the game, you know what it felt like? It felt like, not to criticize it because it was a fun game. It was a great game, but it felt like the Alien stuff was just like thrown on as a marketing ploy
yeah,
towards
like
the
an
end of the
afterthought
game.
almost. That's exactly what
It's
I was
like,
thinking.
we're gonna go in as these soldiers and we're gonna fight these other guys, and oh wait, we want to mix it up at the end of the game. I don't know. Let's go into an alien layer out of the blue. It's like, what?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
the game was like probably 80% of the way done, and then someone came back. I just saw this aliens movie, guy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
put an alien level on there, and the guy's like,
Mm-hmm.
"What the heck? I've already coded like all this like fighting communist guys."
Yeah.
Actually, they're not really even communists in the game. If you notice what those guys are like dressed as, they look like football players.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. I mean, you're getting shot by like a running back. Like, oh god, it was. I mean, the design, yes, it's dated. It's kind of old, but at the same time, the story and the atmosphere, like it is a bullet hell commando, big explosions, Arnold Schwarzenegger like vibe. They actually took the guys on the cover like straight out of Predator.
Mm.
That might have been something else to consider, like why the aliens just spontaneously appeared. Because in Predator, like you thought it was just going to be a traditional like action thriller, and then all of a sudden, Predator's out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I believe the kill count in Predator, like within the first like 16 minutes of the movie, is like 56 guys. Like,
That's crazy.
yeah, because like Arnold and them go to that camp or whatever, just take out all those dudes. I haven't seen the movie in such a long time, but
Oh yeah.
I was watching a kill count video on YouTube the other day, and I'm like, what? I'm like, that there's only like 6 guys in the whole movie,
Yeah.
and I forget about all the bad guys they
That
killed.
entire franchise has been on this household TV for probably 10 times in the last 4 years, man. It's a common go to. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, man. Contra, it was just a lot of fun though, man. It was a blast. I wasn't too much into the story, like I said, but the gameplay that really
Mm.
sold me. It was really innovative for its time too, with the breaking that third wall and going
Oh
inward
yeah.
every between levels was pretty intense. So
Yeah, you go from like a action platformer to a almost third person shooter.
hmm
I That was actually one of my favorite parts of the game too, was the fact that they were just like they go from the side scroller platformer, and then you like can lay prone, and that was cool. The ability to lay prone, early
hmm
drop shotting as you called it. But then when you're playing in the like sensor levels,
hmm
and you've got like you can't go anywhere but left and right, and you can literally just shoot and lay down and like jump over stuff.
yeah,
I thought that was kind of cool.
yeah,
It also was cool having a second player to play with.
yeah.
Like, I couldn't imagine that game like with one person.
Yeah.
The issue, though, I will say, and this is one of my gameplay thoughts. If you're at the edge of the screen, this is traditional Konami like mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Jackal is the same way. You can't proceed any further because your other person's at the edge of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is if you're at the edge of the screen and there's like a waterfall or like a cliff, you just spawn infinitely and fall into that cliff.
Mm-hmm.
That happened to us like 10 times before we realized what was going on.
Yeah.
I mean, even using the Konami code, you're just burning through lives at that point.
Hmm.
For those of you who don't know what the Konami code is, it's like a traditional code that a lot of Konami games had where you could get additional lives. So that way you didn't have to only start with 3 lives or whatever. And in Contra, I believe it was it 30 lives it gave us, or was it 20?
I think so.
Yeah, 30. Okay. Yeah, we burned through that like 4 times. So, by no stretch of the means are we pro Contra players, but
No.
I
couldn't imagine, like you said, playing that game by myself, trying to get
imagine
through
it
those
with
levels.
quarters, dude.
Oh man, you'd be broke.
Matt, do you got a calculator over there? You should do some math real quick and calculate how much that would have cost us if we guesstimate each life as a quarter.
Each life is 25 cents.
Or not each life. Technically, wouldn't it be
for those,
each play is so every 3 is a quarter?
I guess, but if it's a quarter for every life, it would be $7.50 for one go through.
Really?
$7.50 for 30 lives, yeah. Unless you...
No, but we burned through more than 30 lives.
Oh, yeah, we went through like... Oh, that's 60, actually, so...
Yeah, pull up a calculator real quick. Let's figure out.
That's $30.
$30 just for us to play that game?
That's for 50 cents, sorry, my bad.
Oh my goodness, Matt.
Yeah.
Good thing you're not our accountant here at this digital.
Fat fingers on the keyboard, man.
Yeah.
25 cents for times 60 lives is $15. So that would have been about $15 for us to go through like we did.
For 60 lives? Okay, I swear we went through 120 each.
Probably. Would have been double, so yeah. Would have been $30.
So $60 just for us to stand there. And how long we play? Half an hour?
I think it was like 35 minutes to beat it from beginning to, but we were pushing through. We weren't I mean, I was avoiding some enemies so I wouldn't take damage, and then we were just kind of moseying through and kind of like doing a speed run almost.
Yeah, because there's here's something with people who haven't played Contra. People are like, oh, Contra's like bullet hell, bullets from you. Let me paint you guys a picture, and this is pretty accurate. Close your eyes for a second. You're running. You're a commando. You're as buff as Arnold Schwarzenegger. You have blue hair. Don't know why you have blue hair, but you just do. You shoot a guy. You turn around, you shoot like 6 more guys. You walk 4 feet, you kill 5 more guys. Hey, a power-up's there. You pick up the power, you're dead. The second you touch that power-up, you're dead. I don't know what it is, you just blow up every single time. There's a spread gun, I pick it up, I die. Oh, there's a bazooka, I pick it up, I die. It's like every single time. Matt over here sitting with like, oh, I got a laser gun. Oh, I've got this spread gun. Every time I touch a power-up, I'm just dead instantly. I never see these bullets coming out anywhere. I never, like, I touch it, and then I fall off a cliff. It's like, oh, it's so stupid. That right there, that probably cost me like $30 right there, just picking up power-ups. Avoid those people.
Yeah,
but
it's just bait. It's gamer bait. Yeah. That's what it is.
No, but you were saying like we were speedrunning. There was a point where there was a boss or something like that. We had to like shoot this giant like square on this wall. And so me and Matt are like jumping around on this cliff. And eventually I'm like, fuck this. And I like lose a life going down there, but then you get like invincibility frames. And I just run up to it and I just start shooting it like point blank. And Matt's like, oh, we made it through. Good shit. I'm like, yeah. Yeah, no crap. We just made it through there, right? I'm like, it was super cheesy. But sometimes that's what you got. You just gotta come up to a guy and barrel stuff.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do to win, man.
Yeah. What do you think was your least favorite part of the game and favorite part of the game?
Least favorite was just I think my least favorite was going against the enemies with the turrets. Like, so you're going through the platform, and because of the graphics and the capabilities of the technology, you're not seeing. So you're moving along the level. You know, think for people who haven't played it, something like Mario, You're moving through the level, and all of a sudden, a guy pops in facing a with an automated gun turret, and he's just like bah, 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 bah. And you're like the instant you get to see it, you finally are able to see it when you're like right face to face with it.
Yeah.
And my most frustrating part was twofold. During that time when they introduced that to the level, you and I were like dying constantly because one of us was at the opposite end of the screen, and the other one was on the other side. So it was forcing the game to not let us progress, and it was
Mhm.
limiting our jump abilities.
Yeah.
So that one part later in the game, on that like futuristic stage where there's just like 5 or 6 turrets in one area and you got to dodge the lasers, that was frustrating. That was the
Yeah.
most frustrating part for me.
The worst part about it is that like you see the guy, and like any other guy, like you said, who comes off screen like at the
Yeah.
last second, you can just shoot him and he's dead because they're wearing a t-shirt and you're coming in shirtless. So it's like one
Yeah.
hit kills, all around. But those guys on the like fortified turret, you
Mm-hmm.
go and you just hear it hit him, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh crap! Of course the guy eats 4 bullets, and then he just shoots you once and you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
That was my. I got so mad at that because I see a guy, I'm like, I'm gonna. Oh crap! It's the third guy, and you don't think to drop prone right away because like you, because
Yeah.
you can either shoot forward, shoot backwards, jump and shoot up or down. You have to jump in order to shoot up and down, or you can shoot diagonally. But in order to drop, you have to like push down and then like shoot. Like, it's so weird. Like it was very limited for the
Yeah.
time because you only had 2 buttons. But the what about your favorite part of it though, Matt?
My favorite part of it was just the teamwork, and for what it brought to me was when like so between every stage there was this, like we explained before, this like third person view behind the soldiers, and you're stuck in these kill box rooms,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to fight your way through between each stage. There's a kill box room where they send you these like things to trip you up and knock you out, and then they have like the kill box rooms are guarded by like an electrified barrier,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're firing at the wall to take out the sensors to be able to push through and blow through the wall. That was probably my most memorable and favorite takeaway, was the teamwork, you and I working together, trying to clear through these things, trying to push as hard as we were past these seemingly at first easy rooms that got increasingly difficult as the game went on. So that was
Yeah, I
my
agree.
favorite.
Yeah, I like that part a lot too. The one thing I really liked about it was that like in those rooms, like you have guys who are jumping out and shooting you.
Mm-hmm.
You've got guys who are throwing those yoga rollers,
Mm-hmm.
like where you like stretch out on, like they're rolling those towards you, lethal ones. And
Yoga
then you've got
roller.
lasers in front of you, so you can't walk forward, otherwise your guy like gets electrocuted. And then you got turrets shooting you. So like normally what I did right away is I just dropped prone and would
Mm-hmm.
take out the yoga mats, and then you would just strafe back and forth shooting the normal guys, and then eventually you and I would just be like, okay, we got to determine what we're taking out now.
Mm-hmm.
But that the second the room spawned in, it was like clockwork. Second room loads in, I'm dropping to the ground, you're strafing side to side, avoiding bullets. It was we had a method down pretty seamless, and I like that part a lot. I did not like, however, when you got to, it wasn't the 3D rooms, but where like it was above you, like the bosses.
Oh yeah.
There's this one where you have to wait for this boss to like overlap. There's like 4 holographic things, and you have to wait for them to overlap, so it makes 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it only takes damage when you have the 2 of them. But the issue is that it's there for like a split second, and it shoots you with heat-seeking like fushigi balls. It's like, okay, thanks a lot for that.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, like because you shoot the first one that comes straight down, and then the second ball comes like and does like this S-shaped pattern, and then like you jump out of the way, and then it comes back, and it's like heat-seeking, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what? Like, I've already got to focus on the guy when he turns into a double hologram. Now you're gonna add this heat-seeking thing, and then it doesn't even miss me if I dodge it, and then if I would have dodged it, you're gonna send a second one after me. Like, oh, that was probably my most infuriating part.
Mm.
Because before that, if you don't take out that center turret, Because we didn't we play through it a second time, or did we die there and we played through it again?
No, we after we beat the game, we went back through and got about a third of the way through and just like died.
Yeah, yeah, I think we called it because I was like, well, we got extra lives, let's just do it. Um,
Yeah.
but there's a sentry turret. There's 6 sentry turrets in that spot before that boss. We'll call him the brain boss comes out, and you and I both shot the ones on the side pretty quickly, and we shot the bottom one in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
There's a second one in the middle on the top where that'll stay and the boss will come out. Not knowing this, you have all of that crap plus a turret Gatling gun. So the second time we played through it, I'm like, Matt, we just gotta take out the middle guy right away,
Yeah.
and that made it a lot easier. But there's things like that in Contra where if you can really help yourself out if you know the game, like if you've memorized it. But that level, that boss was horrible. I think the easiest boss. Okay, let's go down boss difficulties here. I think that was my hardest boss. What was that one boss where we literally? Oh, it was this like the UFO thing, where you and I just stood underneath it and just shot the crap out of it. That was the easiest boss.
Yeah, actually, I think the easiest boss was the final boss, the alien entity.
Oh, yeah, I think that was.
I'm like sitting there dodging face huggers, and you're like, "Oh, screw this!" Bah, bah, bah. You just run up in its face and just
Yeah.
decimate it.
Well, Matt had a spread gun, and so like Matt's dodging these face huggers, and I was shooting prone, shooting the ones on the ground at first, and Matt does damage pretty much anywhere on screen. So I'm like, okay, this thing's gotta have been hit for a while, and they didn't. And I shot all the face huggers at the bottom, so there wasn't going to be any more spawning at the bottom.
Mm.
And Matt's got this spread gun, and he's just shooting up and like hitting anything that comes on the ceiling. So I'm just like, well, at this point, I can just stand underneath it and just shoot it. I was like, forget that, you know. But that UFO one was so funny. Matt's got the spread gun. Moral of the story is I never got to touch the spread gun. Matt had it the whole time. And I'm dodging these things. I'm like, Matt, just shoot up. And Matt just goes, and just points straight up, and the thing's dead within like 2 seconds. Not even joking. Because the UFO drops smaller UFOs, but since it's a spread gun, it shoots the UFO and the little tiny spawning UFOs and does triple damage. So it's like, I'm like, oh, wow. That was,
yeah, never saw it coming.
Yeah, it's the biggest cheese ever. The, Kylie makes fun of me for saying cheese. I don't know where I developed that, but
cheese.
Yeah, I don't know. It's you're cheesing. You're smiling because you're like that was dirty. You know,
it must be a Wisconsin thing.
Could be. I don't know where I developed it from, but I say it quite a bit. I think. But my impressions of Contra was the original Contra game, like, end summary review sort of thing. Like, it was a good game. It is definitely a staple in the gaming community. But you know, like it's an arcade coin popper at the end of the day. You know, is the story super compelling? Not really. Like you're literally fighting a terrorist organization called the Red Falcons. And they're secretly planning to take over the world. You fight some aliens. That's about all I know for the original Contra. And there have been so many sequels and spin-offs, and I think after playing this, I might give them a shot, and we should definitely maybe give them a shot together if we do that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, but you can definitely see Contra's inspired quite a bit of games. Like Hunt Down is a game for the Switch that I got. It's also for PC, but it's a goofy arcade style, slower paced Contra-esque game that I really like. I really enjoyed it, and I think going to the original Contra, where it's just a much higher skill floor to begin with, and then the skill gap is so much higher, not because the actual game's harder, but because of the limitations and controls personally. Because that was the hardest thing I think for me was, in order to drop prone, I cannot drop prone and fire up. I have to drop prone, that's it, and fire like horizontally. And if I fire horizontally, I could potentially not be able to hit my target because it's lower to the ground. And that is something like that where I get it, like, you know, it's just part of the game. But it really was hard in like platforming and stuff like that when you got to shoot a guy who's jumping with you, who's like below you or above you. and you can't take the sacrifice of not committing to that jump. So, because if you let go of your right or left, you just fall straight down like a rock. So, if you're going to shoot a guy above you, you got to think, will I make this jump? Can I hit this guy? Or am I skilled enough to jump, shoot up, and then continue my momentum?
Hmm.
95% of the time, I'm falling straight off the cliff, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But how about you?
Oh, for the gameplay, um, like for me, the mechanics were okay. I mean, I like the fact that there was multi-tiered part environments
Yeah,
to
that's cool.
move through. I think originally we start off right off the bat in like a jungle environment, and you're going through, and then there's a bridge that fails and blows itself up as you touch it.
Yep.
And I'm not sure if you can make it over that and jump, but I know we kept splashing in the water. I was kind of hoping for more like water out of the water engagements.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for me, I really like the mechanics. I like the drop shooting. I wish you could have fired downward without having to jump and fire downward,
Yep.
or elevate and shoot upward. But I did like the aiming mechanics as far as like, especially using the retro controller that's meant to simulate the original NES or Super NES controller, the Bitto. The movements were very fluid on the analog stick for it not being what it was meant originally designed for.
Mm-hmm.
So, a couple of standouts from the gameplay. Um, I really, I really liked that they try to throw a variety at you, but I just think for the limitations on the console and the graphics back then, I really was hoping for more enemy types besides a guy that charges at you, a guy that fires at you, a guy that mans a turret, and alien creatures, and mixed in with some boss fights. I really wish there was like more enemy types, but for its time, it was varied enough with enough of the level design. The one level I did not like at all was the jungle waterfall level, where there was just like tier after tier after tier, excuse me, of jumping and jumping and jumping and climbing to get up the waterfall,
Yeah, and then the
and then
like platforms.
yeah, the
Yeah.
platforming section was just ridiculous, and then we're like falling off, and then we're trying to time the jump with each other, which is kind of like brings me back to my Mario days of my wife and I playing Mario on the couch and us laughing
Mm-hmm.
uncontrollably because we can't sync together and jump at the same time, and it throws the other person off. And that level restriction of where you're on either side of the screen, you can't jump properly and see is frustrating. But other than that, yeah, it's it was a great experience. I really don't have too much criticisms with it. I think it was the level design, the AI or the coding to write the movements was pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish the boss fights were maybe more a little uh, involved, or like you had to think outside the box,
Yeah.
because they were pretty rudimentary. I mean, you immediately saw the first guy, the big guy, swollen guy with the armor. I mean, I was intimidated. I was like, whoa, and you were just like, no, just do this, and then you just like smacked him in the face. And
Yeah, I'm like, just shoot the guy. Like you're like, oh, this guy's big. I'm like, just shoot him. That's
well,
the only thing you can do.
because on screen you're like this, and
Yeah.
then the boss guy is like this, and it's like whoa, and then you just like walk up and like David and Goliath smack him, and then he's dead.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of like when you see a guy like that, like Matt's saying, like the sprites on the screen, like this guy is like literally 5 or 6 sprites taller than you,
Hmm.
and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, well, we got to shoot him at some point, you know. And then it's a stereotypical arcade game, so you know when he takes damage, he starts blinking and going ah, and they charged us, and I'm like, okay, man, we just gotta jump over him. The guy, neither of us made the jump.
Mm-mm.
Like every time he charged us, none of us made the jump.
Just
So
jumped onto him and hugged him basically.
yeah, pretty much. And that's one of the things where I'm like, well, I know what I'm supposed to do. I
Yeah.
think I'm supposed to dodge him, but
Mm.
overall, I thought it was a pretty good game. And Konami back on the NES, they they dominated. Konami was such a good developer that Nintendo said you can only release a certain amount of games per year on the original NES hardware. Konami had subsidies where they could release more games.
Mm.
And they were just dominant on the NES, and they made really solid titles. And this, I think, goes to show and adds to the portfolio of what they did really well. You know,
Yeah.
I think they're just there was such a it's such an iconic game, And when you said we should play it, I was really hesitant at first because I know I'm not a Contra fan. Like, you know, I'm not like going into it. I'm like, there's the stigma of Contra being extremely hard and you die a lot.
Yeah.
And I was just like, who wants to play a game where they die a lot, you know? But I'm glad we played it. You know, I'm glad that I got over that initial like hesitation and tried out a game that revolutionized like the shooting genre. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's like Contra is like a Galaga almost. Like it's if you talk about it, people know what it is. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Well, that's interesting you say that. So the reason why I chose it and suggested that we play it is a couple of quick things here. So first off, I never played it as a kid.
Mhm.
I didn't get an NES until like probably early, geez, I want to say early '90s.
Mhm.
And I was kind of late to the party, and so in school, in grade school, all the kids were like, "Yeah, I got Contra. We jump, we it's so tough, it's so challenging, it's ridiculous, you know." And back then, it's like, oh, well, when you're a kid, games, or maybe if you're a little bit younger, it
Mhm.
can be complicated, it can be rough for you. So me choosing that was to like go back to my childhood era and say, hey, I'm gonna pick out a game and experience it that I never got a chance to.
Yeah.
So that's what it was for me. And just playing, I'm into that whole like games where they people say you can't beat them, or you get smacked around and you can't complete it because it's too difficult.
Mhm.
I used to hate those games, and then I started playing more recent ones, like Dark Souls and games that are Bloodborne, games
Oh
that
geez, yeah.
punish you and just continuously smack you down. um and it gives you an opportunity to not cheese it, okay,
Mhm.
uh but actually try to find a decent honorable way to beat the game. And then sometimes there's just games where you just can't, gotta cheese it completely. uh
Yeah.
and I figured Contra would come to that, we'd have to cheese it at some point to get past somebody.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's why I picked it. It was just pull it from the past, play it, experience it. I know you're big in Konami and the NES, and I figured, well, let's play something in that for both of us. So
Yeah.
that's what it was for me.
I love Konami and the NES. You're right. Exactly. It's one of those things where it's like even with that love that I had for it, it was just a for me. I really couldn't justify
Mm-hmm.
going back to playing such an iconic game that I knew is like I'm just gonna die a lot. It's like Dark Souls and Bloodborne. It's like I've tried them, but it's like do I? I'm not a masochist, you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm glad, like I said, that you came up with that idea to like visit your past and you're like, let's just do this. Let's just do Contra because that was like the only game you really pitched, and I'm like, I guess we gotta do Contra if this is like the only game he's asking to play. Um, but the cool thing with it though, like I said earlier in the podcast, is that it's 2 player because a lot of these older games that are iconic, they were an arcade game, but they didn't really offer like a simultaneous 2 player experience,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I think that was one of the things that really helped it with me was that I'm like, okay, I don't have to suffer alone, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to die repeatedly by myself. I can at least watch someone else die repeatedly as well. The do you have any final thoughts before we get to the save point?
Just I love Parsec, man. Shout out
Oh
to
yeah.
them. Hopefully we'll pick them up as a sponsor. But I love the ability to go in and play retro games. And just a quick touch on that, like the whole point of playing Contra was to play a retro game with my buddy,
Mm-hmm.
do a couch cooperative thing. Except we're 1,200 or so miles apart, so it's like get online. And you introduced me to this whole world of like revitalizing my passion for retro games.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just like last night, we are playing a bunch of different random games from the early 2000s, NFL Blitz and
Mm-hmm.
Killer Instinct, and just we even switch it up, play some Rocket League. Even just I love game nights like that where you just kind of do a variety of things. And Parsec is so unique and different. I just love it, and I appreciate you turning me on to that and getting me set up with that, and being able to just go into your computer and play without having to me to actually have to purchase the game
Mm-hmm.
is the big selling point for me. So Parsec, thanks for that. Made it possible, and two buddies who live too far apart to get together were able to play a game cooperatively where one owns it, one doesn't, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, Parsec is a really good program for playing couch co-op games because you can Parsec. What it does is it's for those of you who don't know, it's I've talked about it I think briefly on the podcast. I haven't gone too in depth into it, but it allows me as a host to allow anybody access to my computer. And I can control how they control it. So like I can have all my friends have access to my computer, but they can only access it with a controller, which means that if I'm playing a game that's multiplayer couch co-op, they can come and join the server and only use a controller, and it'll act like they're plugged into my computer. So that's how I'm able to play games like NFL Blitz with 4 people. You know, it's so convenient because someone like Matt doesn't really understand how to set up net play and stuff like that. And rather than me walking through how to set up net play and all that, Parsec's just super easy because it only requires me to set it up and just have good internet. You know, I actually up my internet to do Parsec better. You know, and it's just worth it. You know, it's super convenient and it's absolutely free. That's the best part of the program. You know, it's open to everybody, and it's no like tier settings for it or anything like that. It's just all based on your host and what your friend's internet can handle. But we can go about that in a future podcast if people really ask about it. And if you have questions about it, just feel free to reach out to us in Discord, and I'll be more than happy to answer and point anybody in the right direction for settings for that. But I think on that note, it's time for the save point, Matt. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, Matt. So on this week's save point, we actually got a Facebook comment from George. Yo, Matt. Apparently it's just for you. How about favorite personal gaming moments or achievements that you guys have had? So he's apparently talking about both of us. For example, you just beat this boss or a certain part For example, you just beat or a certain part and had to take a 5-minute breather after playing the game. That is verbatim what he said. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I think what he's trying to say is, for example, you beat a boss or a certain part that you had to then take a 5-minute breather afterwards. Like, I think that's what he's trying to get at. I don't know. There's just the certain or answer, you know, sorry. Reading it out loud sometimes. I'm working on it, people. I've been practicing reading out loud your comments, and I'm trying my best here. But to answer George's questions, was there any personal achievement or gaming moment that you have?
So I think it's like a 2-part question. Personal gaming moments, and then a game that you had to take a breather from. So I've got 2. Favorite personal gaming moment was so there's a game, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice.
Yeah.
And it's in the realm of it smacks you around and just relentlessly just destroys you. It's a game where you're a shinobi, which is a ninja mercenary kind of like agent, and you're going after the samurai clan that's responsible. They're responsible for kidnapping your lord, basically, is what it boils down to. And so you're going back for revenge. And along the way, it's this game where you navigate this environment, and it's brutal. You die, you go all the way back to the last checkpoint. And if you have enough of spirit or something, I can't remember. But it's like one of those Dark Soul vein type games where you just repeatedly just destroys you. So my personal, like, what I got out of it, and like my defining gaming achievement for me, you know, and you joke around about participation trophies, but this one was legit. Having to go after the boss, Ayobu, I think his name was Ayobu, like Oniwa or something. He is like, I know I butchered it.
Whitest guy in the world.
Yeah, he comes at you. He's on horse, and his horse is armored. And it's kind of set the setting here real quick. It's a ruined environment. There's just death and destruction around you. There's just like there's still things on fire burning around you, and there's like all these obstacles that are kind of like in the environment. And he comes at you with a spear that has a blade on the end of it. So he has full armor, full samurai armor. He's coming at you, and you're very limited. Now, at this point, you have like a rope that you can close the distance against him, and you have basically just your short range attacks to go to take him on.
Mm.
And the game was so difficult. I just die, repeat, die 100 times, and I finally beat him.
Mm.
I closed the gap on him, and I learned that you can parry his attacks even on horseback with that huge spear and blade. You can parry it and just counter him and just keep going at him. So when it finally clicked, when I realized close the distance with the grapple rope, and then just light him up. It took a while too. It was like an hour-long boss fight for me, but I finally, on the brink of death, was able to defeat him and have the trophy pop.
Mm.
And the funny thing is, he was only the third boss in the game.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like one of those where it's just like as you proverbial say, balls against the wall. Your back's to the wall. You're stuck in a corner, and you got to fight your way out of it. And it's just, man, it was one of the most intense battles I think I've had in quite some time. So that was my defining achievement, was being able to beat a really hard boss in Sekiro.
Okay.
Most frustrating head scratcher, I have to go back a little bit. So Metal Gear Solid, the original one on PlayStation, the end of the game, you have to go up against Metal Gear, the huge mech, and you're Solid Snake on the ground with very limited resources, and you have to fight this mech that's being controlled by Liquid Snake, and there you have to equip your launcher that can only lock on to a specific part of the mech for a split second before you get pummeled by incoming rockets.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm playing this more recently a little while ago with my wife, and she's just loving it. We're playing it, we're getting really into it, and it was just so frustrating because I kept like trying to aim and run, and then the missiles just kept like smacking me in the face, and it was I mean, I must have listened to like 30 kill screens of snake as he dies.
Yeah.
So after a while, my wife's like, you know what? She whips out her phone. She's like, okay, you got to do this. And then I'm like, okay, you got to go up underneath him. And then once you take out his ability to launch missiles, the second time you fight him is basically like in every boss level, there's a second tier he elevates to. It's so stupid. You have to go underneath him. That's it. And avoid his like sword laser thing. And you have to go up underneath him and just cheese it and stay right under his crotch and just keep shooting at him from under there, like missiles, whatever you got. And it's just so stupid and frustrating. It's some of those bosses in that game are so frustrating as well, but this one just took the cake. I got so pissed I was ready to throw the controller and just say, you know what, I'm done with this. And I had to take a breather. I literally put the controller down for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, oh my god. It was just so frustrating. Never ever would I want to go through that game again.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. That's one of the things that I try to avoid, like looking something up, and especially in a boss fight.
Same.
But I will early on look up like advanced like mechanics, because for me, like if like for instance like reload jumping, reload canceling, all that stuff, if you can figure out how to speed up your animations and stuff like that in a game, you can elevate your gameplay to the next level. But I always purposely avoid like, here's how you cheese this boss. I'm like, because I'm like, oh, maybe no, not yet. I gotta die 1,000 times first. But I get you on that, where it's like you're just so adamant to like, I don't want to look it up. I just want to, I don't want to get them. I get you 100% on that. For me, one of my personal favorite gaming moments is also like my least favorite. So I had played Nier Automata. This is when I first beat it, and I got laid off from my other job, and I was going back to work at Best Buy, and there was like my boss at Best Buy is like, when you want to come back? I'm like, immediate wait. Let me take a week off, have a little mini vacation to beat Nier Automata. So I've just been grinding this game this is day 2, all right? And I just haven't done anything except play this game. And so my mom's getting ready to go to work because I was living with my folks at the time. and she's blow drying her hair. And so I am level like I think 30, and this is first playthrough. So you proceed, it's like second playthrough, third playthrough, you get to like super higher levels and you get
Yeah.
better armor and stuff. So this is playthrough 1 where I'm low level and I'm fighting a third playthrough boss, not realizing this. And I am cheesing the shit out of this guy. So he comes at me, and I you can abuse the dodge mechanic. So I'm dodging really well. I'm like air canceling and doing a lot of this stuff where like I get small damage and then I get back away. I put small damage and back away, and then I've got a self healing chip that like does one health per like 5 seconds. So there's times where I'm just running away from him to get health back because I don't want to burn my potions. And I beat his first phase. I'm like, awesome. He's like, second phase. I'm like, ah. And then for his third phase, he's like, oh, this is actually to the death. And I'm like,
Mm.
what? And then it just gets super hard. And this is like 7:30 in the morning. And I'm just clicking away. And his health's just whittling away. And I'm burning through potions, like healing, like everything. I'm calling in the most BS, like chipsets you can get. Like you have these spike things that hold them in position. I'm using all the stops, Matt, all the stops. And then he goes, and he dies. I go, yes! Power dies. My mom blew a fuse with the hairdryer. And she goes, oh, sorry. And I'm just sitting there like, oh my God. I'm like, I spent hours fighting this guy. I got up at like 6 in the morning to 7:30 ish fighting this one boss, you know, and I was just like, oh,
Devastated. Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, oh, I can't even fathom it. To this day is one of those moments where the worst part about it was that my mom said sorry because she immediately knew, but I was just such a mature adult about it. I was like, it's fine, it's okay, you know. But inside I was screaming internally, and because I knew that it wasn't saved, and so you turn it on, and you go to the boss. He's like, do you want to fight? I go, no, I don't want to fight you. I came back third playthrough and just wrecked him within like 5 minutes. That's the worst part about it. But man, oh my gosh, man. Right now I'm sweating because I'm just I'm reliving it. I'm having PTSD of it.
PTSD.
I just, oh gosh, it was so horrible. Like it was here's how I could explain it. In the Olympics, there's like this fencing girl who like thought she won the gold medal, but there's like a millisecond or whatever on the timer, and then the woman taps her and she loses. That was what it felt like.
Okay.
Millisecond tap to lose it all. That is, yeah, that's my frustrating story there. But man, now I'm just now I'm just a little salty now. Honestly, now I don't want to talk about anything else.
I appreciate the feedback in the comment, George.
Yeah, thank you so much, George. We appreciate that. That's a really good topic to bring up.
Definitely.
If you guys want to be part of the action, feel free to reach out to us on social media. You can also leave a comment on our Facebook group or Discord, or private message to us on social media as well. You can also go to disc2digital.net and leave a comment on the episode or in the main page. We check there quite frequently. Make sure it's disc with a K, because apparently there's a disc2digital.net website where it's got a puppy with earphones on it. That's not us. That is not us. So it's just a digital with a K.net if you guys want to find us. I was a little surprised when I found that the other day. It was really weird.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah. Speaking of like suggestions and stuff like that, one of the things that we've looked at is we've got a game recommendations list on our website where you can like come to us and you can recommend games we should play and put in like the hours and who it's made by, so that way we can determine how to like best manage it. Matt, we were supposed to start playing Uncharted Waters. We have not started that yet.
Yeah, I've looked into it. I've seen some YouTube videos on it. It looks like a lot of fun. Looks like it's gonna be challenging. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So with that being said, I think for the viewers at home, for them to realize that is something where me and Matt have to play the game. So it's gonna take us like a week or two to play it. That's assuming we play nothing else. we're gamers. We play a bunch of games. And in doing so, like, it does take time for us to beat these games.
Yeah.
So if you guys ever have a quick suggestion like Contra or something like that, that is something that is a lot easier for us to talk about quickly. If there's a game like that, if you say something like Final Fantasy VI, that's a 40-hour game. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we both work full time, so it's that game you might see in like a month. But if you say something like, Putt Putt's Challenge, I mean, I could probably beat that in 20 minutes. You ever play the Freddy the Fish or Putt Putt Challenge?
No.
Okay, good. They're a little too childish for you. I had a little sister, so obviously I had to help out with those games from time to time. Matt, is there anything else you have to comment on?
I think that about wraps it up for the save point. As always, guys, we really appreciate your feedback. We get it intermittently in social media and through the podcast. So, also on our Discord channel. So if you guys want to join, we can definitely make that happen. And we're an open book community, man. We're all about games, relaxing, vibing with everybody. That's our flow. So if you guys are interested, always hop in, join us, chat with us. We're always here. We're gonna try to put up more content on Facebook, Twitch as well. So keep that in mind. We're just starting out here, just getting our feet wet. Brett's got all of the experience when it comes to streaming, and I'm just your cookie cutter green noob. So it's gonna take me a while, but I am also working on setting up for the Uncharted playthrough as well. So I am getting that started.
Yeah,
Not Uncharted Waters, Uncharted franchise from PlayStation. So
yeah, I think the big thing also is that feel free to join us if you want to play the game with us. I mean, that's one of the things that me and Matt really enjoy is like last night, for instance, we were playing NFL Blitz with George, who left the comment, and a streamer who we competed against in the UGC, Reeves. So like playing games with just like people you collab with and people who view the podcast. I mean, essentially, it's just like playing with your friends, and that's what it is at the end of the day. If you guys want to come in and play a game with us, we don't mind having you guys in there, as long as you guys aren't dominant at the game. If you're too good, you can't play with us. That's the thing. That's the rule. It's like golf. If you're too good, you can't come back.
I mean, you can't come in and show us up, baby. You gotta show some love.
Yeah, you got. It's called the Dista Digital show, not the You show. Exactly. But I think one of the things is that if you're playing a certain game with your community, I think it's a lot more fun because it allows you to meet people who you wouldn't otherwise, and that's one of the things that I really have gotten out of Twitch was I've made a lot of friends on there who I wouldn't have met otherwise in real life.
Yeah.
And so playing with people is something that I just really do. I really don't care who it is at the end of the day, as long as it's not a pro player who's just making me regret all my decisions in life.
It's kind of how I felt in Rocket League last night with you and George.
George is just too good at that game. That's why I said George is banned from all Rocket League events if we ever host a Rocket League event. He's too good. Otherwise, he's got to be on our team. That's how it's got to be. Either he's banned or he's on our team.
He's my Mr. Miyagi. Man, I'm sitting there painting that fence, soaking that in, trying to learn all that I can.
Yeah, we should do a podcast on Rocket League. I think at some point talk about the before and after. That's something where I'll be kind of interested. Once you reach a certain amount of game hours, when do you become good? What is the hours you have to put into a game to get good at it? Food for thought, people. Leave a comment if you like that idea. But we're coming to the end of the show here. I mean, there's only so much you can talk about Contra. It's a 20-minute game, I mean, there's things you can talk about as far as what improvements you make to the game, but I think we kind of went over that earlier. Don't you agree?
Yeah, we did. It's just minor adjustments, minor things they could have done. They could have padded out the story. It could have taken in any number of directions, made it something in Afghanistan or something in the different biodomes. We could have had a snow map or something. But I mean, at the end of the day, trying to dissect it, it's just criticism, or it's you love it or you hate it. I loved it. I enjoyed it for what it was. I really wouldn't want to change much with it, just maybe some tweaks here and there. But overall, it's something I really think people should go and check out. If you have computer, or you have a way to play classic games, don't go on eBay and buy anything because people can't be trusted, and you're not gonna get the original. You're gonna get some fake clone. But if you have a computer, you can definitely check it out, or I'm sure you can do it on your phone or something by now with all this technology and things. It's something I think people really miss out on if you don't have that a chance to do that. Or I mean, hey, tune into some of our streams and you'll definitely see some classic games you've never played, and it'll give you a chance to relive maybe your childhood, maybe you didn't even know was out there.
Yeah.
So that's what it is for me, and that's what I really appreciate. Games like Contra, going back and just vibing with you, and for me, I'm passionate about that teamwork, baby. That's all it is. Is I love playing a game where I have a teammate where you share responsibility, and I'm always that teammate that puts his life on the line. I'm the bullet taker. The no, you know.
Yeah.
So it you know. But
yeah, I get you on that.
Don't
The
really
the
wanna
other thing
change
is you can
anything.
always reach out to us, and if people really start demanding for a way to be able to play some of these older games, I can definitely have me and Matt break down a tutorial video on YouTube for you guys.
Yeah.
Make it simple. We just haven't really had the demand for it, and the man hours to put it in there is not. No one's reached out to us for it, so there's no point for us to put the man hours into it. Because as of right now, I'm the only one in our friend group that has the ability to do it. You know, which is why I'm always the host for Parsec. And to be honest, I think that's kind of all you really need is if you have one person who can do it and is willing to play all these games, that's great, you know. But there's times where like Matt wants to play like a baseball game, and then he just whips me in whatever that guy's name, Kyle McGregor or whatever his name is, or baseball. Whatever.
Did you just butcher Ken Griffey Jr.?
I don't even know who the hell that guy is. I don't even know who he is, dude.
I'll educate you.
I'm not a baseball fan. The only KM I know is Kevin McGuire. You know. Wait, no, Mark McGuire. Oops, Kevin McGuire's the guy I played hockey with. Mark McGuire.
That would be like if I was to butcher Mario Lemieux hockey, but I didn't because I know the name.
Yeah, Mario Lemieux's iconic. I don't know about this other dude.
Oh man,
dude, he's not iconic enough for someone who doesn't follow baseball to know him. You know, like.
Well, it's not that. It's not that. It's just it's before your era of sports knowledge. So.
I guess. I mean, like I know who Barry Bonds is. I know Mr. Royd Rage over there, but.
Okay, well.
Yeah. You know, I know Michael. Well, I guess Michael. I know very few sports athletes. Like, you know, because it's like I just didn't follow it.
Yeah.
You're right. It's before my time.
Yeah.
But I know who Bo Jackson is. I know he's super overpowered in Tecmo Bowl.
That's because of Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah, because of Tecmo Bowl. That's what I think it is. I think if I knew you in a video game, I'm more likely to know who you are as an athlete.
Well, he was also a two-sport athlete. He played for the Kansas City Royals too, baseball.
Oh wait, Barry Bonds? Not Barry Bonds. Freaking Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson. Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were talking about this other Ken, whatever his name is, guy. I was like, he played baseball, right? It doesn't matter if he played for two teams.
Yeah. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr. It's a long story, but he was one of the greatest players to play the game.
Oh, really?
His father was too before him.
Oh.
So
feel bad for ripping on you, dude. I'm sorry.
It's all good. You didn't know.
I don't know. I'm not educated enough. So, Mr. Junior. But anyways, on that note, before I insult any more athletes, we're gonna wrap up this episode here. If you guys want to be part of the action, feel free to reach out to us on a comment on our social media, or you can comment on the episode. We're on YouTube, and if you guys haven't already, check us out on iTunes and leave us a rating and a comment. We would really appreciate that. It helps boost the viewership on here. And let us know what you guys want to see in the future, or what games you want us to play. Right now, I'm working on some things for the stream side of things. So if you guys have any suggestions on that as well, you can always reach out to us and offer insight or offer your help if you guys want to help out on the show. I mean, we've got a lot of people helping us. We got Afro, who makes the beats, Good Vibes, or Good Feelings, or whatever the name is. I think it's called Good Feelings. Good Feelings is the name of our intro and outro song. So thanks to him for that. So if you guys have anything that you guys think you want to contribute to the show, just let us know, and we're more than happy to listen to what you guys have to offer. But I think that's all I got to say.
I think a good valid point too is if anybody actually wants to help out or actually themselves be on the show. I mean, we're all open to having somebody come on and guest star and talk with us and have a good time. So Brett's got all the technology on that figured out, hopefully, so we can.
I don't know if I want to share the limelight yet.
Oh, it's okay.
No, you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
but if anybody wants to collab with us, get on our Just a Digital Discord channel and just talk to us and see what's what. We'd really appreciate that. But it's a 2-man show for now. That's how we roll. We're not looking to replace anybody. Just you guys want to come and be a part of us and see yourself on YouTube, talk to us, something like that. This is a whole new world, man. It's exciting. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel like one of the things that we're doing is we're just becoming more of a casual. Yeah. It's not as informative as it originally set out to be, and I think that's one of the things that helps with the show greatly, is because it's super flexible in how you present it. Because if you wanted something more informative, you just make a YouTube video on it. I think the podcast is just like a radio talk show host, sort of thing. Personally.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think that's all we got for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. And from all of us at Just a Digital, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you.
Take care, guys.